Well, good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we've got another blast from the past. Today, we're going to be talking about the Lafayette Comstat 25A, an absolute classic from the past. The Lafayette Comstat 25A transceiver, stock number 99P-3130WX, was vintage from 1967 to about 1968. It required a Class D FCC license, and it operated on the 11 meters CB band. The price new was $139.95. This was a classic, and I remember when I was a young guy, I guess I was still in high school, I kind of had a hankering to get into radio, and kind of got a little bit scared of the Morse code, so I didn't get into ham radio when I was back about 17 or 18. I did later on in life, but I had always picked up the Lafayette catalog. Every time I went to town, we went to the Lafayette store, and I was eyeballing a lot of these radios. This was vintage 67, 68, a few years before I graduated from high school. But I thought that this was one of the best looking CB radios that I had ever seen. I just liked the classic style, the dark black front, the chrome speaker, just the two-tone color. The whole thing, man, it was really something. And if you're a radio man, you know what I'm talking about. You just see a radio, just like this Knight receiver over here to the left, the R100A. It's a classic. And there's just something about this hammer tone finish, too. So anyway, I fell in love with this radio. And this is not the original radio that I bought. I bought the 25B. But the 25A was a real classic, and I fell in love with it when I saw it in the catalog. Let me go ahead and give you a little bit more information about this, and then we'll tune through it a little bit and let you hear a little bit more of the activity. Boy, doesn't that bring back memories. That's Channel 9. Remember the day when you couldn't even get on Channel 9? It was the emergency channel. Now listen to it. 11 meters is wide open, and I imagine 10 meter ham band is wide open too. Guys, this video might run a little bit long, and I'm going to try to make it quick. But for something like this, you just want to cover every detail, and you really want to savor it if you can. Now, let's go through my notes here, because I've got a short memory, and without my notes, I might leave out something. This particular radio was a dual conversion super heterodyne crystal control rig. So dual conversion super het was pretty doggone good received back in the day. It had a 5-watt plate input, put out probably about 3.5 watts. If you tweaked a little bit, you might be able to get a little bit more. It was amplitude modulation, no FM on these, and they did make sideband radios a little later, but this is just a regular AM radio. This offered the CB public address switch, so you could actually use this as a public address system if you wanted to. It offered the Lafayette Comm selective call system, and that was, I'm not exactly sure what that was. I think it was a system where if both radios were equipped with this Comm, it would probably send out a tone, and it would keep the radio and receive until that other radio was on the frequency. So it was a way of kind of keeping your radio silent until maybe your wife or your husband called you on the radio. Of course, it had an S meter, and it also had an RF output, built into the S meter. It has a built-in automatic noise limiter. It's got a squelch, which also operates as a standby. Kind of keeps the tubes warm, but it cuts the receive off. It's also, of course, got the on-off and the volume control here. It's got a built-in fine-tune circuit, but it's also got a fine-tuning knob here on the front. And let me see if I can do it without getting in front of it, but you can just turn this either way. Okay, it's came with a ceramic microphone. This one is not, this is a brand new microphone. I do not have the plug on it, but it would fit in here. It's a ceramic microphone, stock number 99-45791. Now, as you see over here, the classic D104, that did not come with it, but I thought for nostalgia's sake, I'd throw it out here and let you take a look at that. And a lot of guys had the D104s. They were kind of cool. They were really a hot crystal high impedance microphone. And while we're at it, I'm gonna tell you a little story about the D104. I guess I was probably 18 years old. I had me a nice little CB shack in my house, and I had my Comstat 25B hooked up. It was more of a modern looking radio than this, and I had the D104 plugged into it, and it was operating. I was sitting there monitoring. Now, for those of you that remember, do you remember the old metal oscillating fans? You remember those? They were solid metal with the metal blades, the big metal housing, and I had that running. And I was holding the D104 in one hand, and I reached over with the other hand to switch off the fan. That was not a good move, because that created a loop. In other words, I got grounded. I was the ground. So I guess the fan, you know, back then none of these radios and nothing was polarized. So what happened, I got the shock of my life. I threw that microphone down. I don't think I broke it, but I'll never forget that. So I don't recommend you grabbing a hold of a fan while you're holding your D104 microphone. But that's just a side story. I remember that very well. I'll never forget that. Okay, we talked a little bit about the ceramic microphone. It's got a range boost circuit here. I thought that was always neat. Kind of give you a little oomph in the side bands. The radios, they operated either AC or DC operation. You had an AC cord and a DC cord. Unfortunately, I just have the AC cord. It also came with a mounting bracket. This radio, even though it's in pristine, I mean, absolutely pristine shape, none of the control indicators here, like microphone and everything, none of those are worn off at all. There's a lot of these older radios you'll see where people have turned, and this is worn down. There's a slight, maybe a slight area here where it's worn down. But I do not have the mounting bracket. And the mounting bracket would allow it to set up a little bit if you used it as a base operation. Alright, let's move on quickly here and talk about the rest of this. It's got a built-in 5-inch round speaker in behind this really cool looking grill. I just love that. And it has a modulation indicator over here that, of course, when you're speaking, it indicates and lights up. And I even was, I really went all out when I was younger. I had one of those on-the-air on-the-air boxes. It was actually a preamp, but it had the, when you keyed down, it had on the air, as if I didn't already know I was on the air. But you know, it was just one of those things you had to have back then if you were a CBer. You had to have the on-the-air light. Okay, moving on. It's of course got the phone jack, 1/4-inch phone jack for the headphone operation. It has a solid. Now this is something I didn't realize until I read it today, or maybe I should have. It's probably got a Xenier diode or two in it, which would make it solid state, but it's a solid state power supply. So some of the older power supplies, the rectifier was a tube, but I'm sure that in this, I haven't taken apart and looked, but I'm sure it's probably a Xenier diodes, and they do go bad. And it of course has 11 tubes in it. Now if you'll notice, let's get on a quiet channel. Channel 11. 13, lucky 13. And you notice you don't hear a hum. You don't hear an AC hum. I think this radio's been taken very well care of. The power cord looked brand new. It looked like it's not frayed. It's not a polarized cord, but it looks like it's brand new. So I don't know how much use this radio got, but still, filter capacitors can go bad even if you don't use the radio. But for most situations, you'd want to bring radios like this up on a Variac, which you can see in the back over here on the workbench. But I've brought this thing up before, and I knew I didn't need the Variac. I knew it was going to fire right up, and sure enough it does. So if you'll notice, a lot of the older radios, they filter caps go at them, and they will start a very bad AC hum. And this doesn't have it, you'll notice. So that's good news. Maybe this has got plenty of life in it, left in it, before I have to replace the caps. But I did notice when I'm switching through, sounds like some of the frequencies and channels are not coming through, but what I'll need to do is take the cover off, get some contact cleaner, and spray in there on the controls behind the system here to clean that off. It's just a matter of not making good contact is all that is. But let's kind of just go through the band a little bit. I'm going to shut my mouth and see what we can find here, and let's just enjoy some nostalgia for a few minutes.
Blackberry, North Carolina. Uncle Standard feet, Arizona, got a grip on your sling, no doubt about it. We're reading the mail.
There's a trucker's channel. There's 23, it's 23 channel. Later on they went to 40 channel and they went to FM. But this is the original 23 channel amplitude modulation. This used to be the channel I'd hung out on, channel 1. Fine-tuning knob still works very well. Notice. Well, guys, I'm going to put that on standby, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. It's been great. I didn't want this video to go quite as long as this, and I hope you've stuck around and watched all of it. I do apologize. I'd like to keep them short, but for something like this, I think if you're really interested, you've watched the whole video, and I appreciate you stopping by. I'm going to try to do more blast from the past type videos. I know I do have some subscribers that are into collecting some of the old CB equipment and some ham operators too. I'd like to invite you to check out my new channel. It's basically a channel where I'm putting videos for shortwave reception and things of that nature over there. I didn't want to put too many shortwave videos over here. A lot of people might not be interested, but it's night owl shortwave listening, and I've got a link. I'll put a link down below in this video for you to find that. But I do appreciate you stopping by today, and I'd like to thank all my subscribers for supporting my channel. Thanks for all my new subscribers. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to invite you to check back again real soon to see what I've been into. So in the meantime, folks, take care.
Vayan ahí, copiar ahí, troperito, pues 7-3, mi amigo, ponte la chiringa, todo recibo, Javier Pelado, muy